So a few weeks ago, I went to a birthday party. We went out to dinner at a restaurant, and everybody was ordering fun drinks. It was some kind of deal if you bought 3 at a time or something. I don't know. And I don't drink, so I was not ordering any drinks. And so naturally, the conversation turned to that, as it often does when I am with other people who are drinking when I'm not drinking, because I kind of stick out like a sore thumb. And one of the girls there was really curious about why I didn't drink, and she was toying around with the idea of maybe not drinking for a time, or just to see how that would affect her body and her health and her sleep habits and various things. So she was asking me a lot of questions, and then, I was curious too, so I was asking the girls who were there, I was asking them questions too, and I was asking them, well, why do you drink? And it was interesting because it was as if they had maybe never received that question before. So their answers were kind of piecemeal. But the main thing that came across to me was that they drink because the mixed drinks are kind of fun. And there are a lot of them. And it's fun to try different things. And then the other big reason that came across was that it was something that you do when you're in a group. And kind of everybody's doing it and you partake, and it's like a bonding kind of experience. Anyway, that story leading into why we are recording this episode about drinking.
Right, so Jen brings this story back to me and says, we should do a story about drinking. And I go, absolutely not.
Yeah, Steve was not receptive.
Mainly because I know at least I thought I was in an extreme position here where I have not had a sip of alcohol in my entire life, nor do I wish to have one or wish that I had had a drink. And so putting that out there would just make us seem more extreme.
Yes, and I was telling Steve that there are people out there that are genuinely interested in why we don't drink. And so I said, let's do an episode. It'll be fun.
Either way, here we are. We are Red Weather Christians.
I'm Jen.
I'm Steve. We're here working through what drives, motivates, and inspires us to act.
Whether it's a career, a religion, a family, or drinking, does it even make us happy?
And lots of people would say, absolutely drinking makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. A lot of people really enjoy drinking.
I gotta take the edge off.
Or feel a little bit more relaxed.
Open up a little more.
Have a good time.
And we are not opposed to most of those things.
Right.
We just don't feel the need to drink to do any of those things.
Wait, do we know anyone in our lives who doesn't drink?
Doesn't drink like we don't drink? Or
doesn't drink ever. A friend.
I don't know of them unless they're Mormon. We have some Mormon friends.
We do?
I mean, I know people who are Mormon.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, we don't drink at all. I have drunk in the past a little bit. I've never been drunk, I don't think.
Definitely buzzed.
But here's the thing. The couple times that I did drink, okay, the first time, I'm trying to remember. It was the summer after my senior year. And all my friends had been hounding me, Jen, you have to drink. You got to drink. Come on, Jen. And I was like, no. And then I graduated. And finally that summer after senior year, I was like, all right, I will. And so I was at my really good friend's house and they got me to chug 2 beers. Yes, this is what I did as my very first drinking experience was chug 2 beers. So, but I didn't feel anything except that the beer is not tasty, right? It's like an acquired taste, I guess, like coffee. But I didn't really like the flavor, and I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like loose now or like buzzed or anything. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what? What is the point of this? That's like a waste. I'm just ingesting calories and it's not even making me feel good or even different. So that was my first experience drinking. And then I drank with that same set of friends another time, and I was drinking a little bit of this, gosh, what was it called? It was one of those fruity wines. Boone's, that's what it was. I just remembered it. Yes, it was like Boone's peach wine cooler kind of thing. And it just tasted very, very sweet. And again, I didn't feel really anything. And so I was thinking, well, why? And then I think I drank like a little bit of Kahlua in college. And then that was it.
I mean, there have been other times. I've been with you. You had some Jägermeister.
What?
Yeah, the German restaurant with your uncle.
I don't think I even sipped that.
Definitely did. And you had some here in Ecuador.
What?
Didn't you have some when we went to eat at Baba Yacta?
No.
It was the free stuff that came.
I didn't take a single sip of that. It was like fig, some kind of fig alcohol or something weird.
Anyway.
Yeah, I married a teetotaler, and he keeps better track than I do because he cares a lot more than I do. And that is the extreme position. I am not that extreme. I don't drink at all anymore because I don't care, and Steve does care. I mean, I do care. Just not nearly to the extent that Steve does.
Well, I mean, that's hard to put. That's why I wouldn't want to do this episode and why I'm still slightly hesitant. Because it makes me seem like a terrible human being to deprive you of this in your life.
It just makes you seem a little extreme. You're like, yeah, you took a sip. I'm like, I don't think I took a sip, Steve.
Anyway, for me, one, I was somewhat of a legalistic Christian growing up, so it was illegal to drink underage, so I didn't drink.
You should see the look he's giving me right now, like, Jen, are you listening? Because you did something illegal.
Most of your drinking happened when you weren't allowed to drink.
Yeah, you say most, but I drank a total of 4 or 5 times in my entire life. So
I'm just saying it seems ridiculous to me. Like, ooh, I graduated high school. Now I can do this illegal thing. Work?
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, for me, it was first and foremost illegal. The other is every time I heard about people drinking, unless they were female, it was expensive. I didn't have the kind of money to throw down on alcohol. Nor do I want to do that in my adult life.
Yeah, that is true. It is expensive. And that was something that we talked about at the birthday dinner that I was at. And they all conceded, yes, it is expensive. Yes, I spend money on it.
And to date, I have spent $0 on alcohol.
I did buy some sherry at one point.
Cooking wine does not count, right?
Yeah, I think it was cooking sherry.
I don't even know what I have purchased some cooking alcohol before. Also, rubbing alcohol has been purchased, but you don't drink that either.
Yeah.
So the other thing that happened for me is I was taking Dilantin to prevent some seizures in college. And so when my friends would maybe say, hey, let's go drink now that we're 21, I'd be like, hey, I can't mix alcohol and Dilantin because that's going to totally mess me up and I'll probably have a seizure. Nobody wants that. That would be a total killjoy for the party. So we come back to these questions because we are all about questioning rules and things that you do just because, or everybody's doing it, so that means it's okay, right? So we asked this question to people and we looked up other answers and we talked about it with other people. Why drink?
Yes, and it seemed like the main answers that we kept looping back to were coping, drinking as a coping mechanism, and conformity. So that kind of idea of being in a group and it's what everybody's doing and it's just fun to be together and do something together as a group.
Of course, I've also heard the whole, but have you read the health benefits of drinking red wine? Yes, and if you read the same health benefits, you get the same things from eating red or purple grapes.
Really? Because I thought part of it was the fermentation that was good for you.
I recently read that it's the skin of the grapes that has the antioxidants that are very helpful. A fermented process is still helpful in other ways, but again, you can get that from so many other things, like your bread.
Or kombucha. Oh, which actually does have a very low alcohol content. So I guess that would be the other time I drank in life, when I drank the kombucha.
And you made kombucha. I mean, that was
Yeah.
festering in our house.
Such a hipster.
I did not drink the kombucha.
Yeah. You wouldn't have liked it anyway.
It smelled terrible.
Okay, settle down.
And the SCOBY looks hideous. Let's be clear.
It's very gross looking, yes.
Anyway, so those don't seem like reasonable excuses to drink.
Actually, I remember reading something about wine that it's actually pretty bad for you just because of the sugar content. You know how high the sugar content is in grape juice. It's very similar, if not the same, in wine. So, something to consider.
And so people think that we're the weird ones because we don't drink.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, we can't even name one person in our immediate lives right now who does not drink at all. Oh, no, I can. Your parents, Steve.
Sure. I've never really seen them drink. I don't know if they're teetotalers.
And I think your brother.
No. Maybe. I can't say for sure on that. He'd be the only one. I know the other two siblings definitely drink.
Definitely drink. Like they're alkies over there.
Well, let's not put this too far here. For Jen, drinking was not something that looked desirable throughout her young life.
Yeah, my dad was an alcoholic, if you weren't aware. So I always viewed drinking as worst choice. Bad choice. Worst. And my mom did not drink. And I always thought that was just so cool. So yeah, I saw what alcohol did to my dad and the arguments that we would get into when he'd been drinking and his brain wasn't working as clearly as it should be. And it was really frustrating and I hated it. And I remember as a child growing up, I would pray every night that my dad would stop drinking. And he never did. He never stopped drinking. Maybe there at the very end when he was pretty sick. He just didn't even have a desire for it anymore. But yeah, I mean, it tore my family apart. My parents ended up getting separated and they didn't actually get divorced. But I mean, they both got sick and died before maybe that would have even been a thing. So I know, really uplifting episode this time, huh?
Well, then it makes you think about this other question that we get asked, like, why choose not to drink? And we're going to provide you with lots of reasons not to, starting with health benefits.
Right. So ethanol is in alcohol. It's a class 1 carcinogen. It's a neurotoxin. It's linked to a bunch of diseases. It weakens the immune system. It's linked to declining mental health. Also, alcohol in general kills more people than any other drug.
And we'll link some of these sites that we're getting our information from in the show notes. And yes, the killing more people than any other drug includes the indirect ways, like accidents and such that were alcohol induced. So it's not that people only drink themselves to death. For clarity.
Thank you. Also, for women, the effects are different than on men. Women have a lower water content in their bodies, therefore making the alcohol that hits their system more concentrated. They have less of the enzyme that breaks down alcohol, and then they have higher fat content, which makes them retain the alcohol easier for longer periods.
That doesn't seem good for you.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, the other benefits, health benefits, were for any human being. Those were women specific, and I'm thinking, yeah, I need to keep you off that drug.
Yeah, we were looking up, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but we were looking up like celebrities who don't drink. And Jennifer Lopez is a celebrity who at most might take a sip when she makes a toast of champagne or whatever, but otherwise doesn't drink. And she said the main reason is for her skin, just the health of her skin.
Yeah, and whatever the reason is, you can find a lot of good ones not to drink. Another thing that you can find, and this is the American Heart Society guideline from 2020, their suggestion is...
It was revised in 2020.
Their suggestion is, it is best not to drink alcohol. That's right, it is best not to drink alcohol.
Yeah, at all. And then I think their second sentence says something like, if you can't possibly be bothered to do that, no, it doesn't say that, but it says like at most 1 to 2 drinks a day.
But
what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means.
It's 12 ounces of beer. I read it.
Oh, okay.
5 ounces of wine.
But fun fact that we also found is that 1 to 2 drinks a day increases your risk for breast cancer 30 to 50%.
Yikes.
Yeah. Also, in my sleep book that I know I've referenced many times on this podcast, I will link it in the show notes. It talks about how if you just must drink alcohol in your life, you cannot live without it, it's best to drink it basically first thing in the morning if you don't want it to disrupt your sleep cycles. The book talks about it's just about the worst thing you can do to drink at night as far as sleep is concerned. It really messes your sleep cycles up.
So forget that Miller time. Forget the idea that it's 5 o'clock somewhere and drink in the morning.
First thing, guys. If you take anything away from this episode.
So we're going to go back to that celebrity sobriety thing. Most of the celebrities that we have found who have chosen sobriety at this point in their life have done so because they've had a troubled or dangerous past with alcohol or other drugs. And sobriety is helpful. Nobody, and I mean nobody, questions that kind of sobriety.
Right. And I think when people ask me, oh, you don't drink, and I say I had an alcoholic father and a lot of other family members who were alcoholics, it shuts things down. I think they're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Done. You don't need to say more. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I wonder those few times I did drink, I wonder if I even reached the threshold for being buzzed. Maybe I have that like alcoholism running through my blood and that I just didn't drink enough.
Yeah.
Should I give it another try?
I mean, it's so silly to think, oh man, I didn't drink enough.
Yeah.
When the recommendation is to drink never.
Yeah, right. Well, it wasn't like that in 2000. In 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when it was.
So there are a few celebrities, maybe they're not as famous to you, but they have gone on record as saying not only are they sober, but they have never consumed alcohol in their lives.
Drum roll, please.
They both happen to be women. It's Jillian Jacobs. She's, I don't know what else famous for, but we've seen her in Community.
Oh, love her in Community.
And then Jennifer Hudson. Yeah, never consumed alcohol. And they don't think like they're missing out on anything either.
Yeah, I mean, I have drunk a little bit, but I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. And Steve, do you feel like you're missing out on anything?
Definitely not. In fact, if I go back to the times when I was even at an event or a party in high school where drinking was happening, I know that was weird in itself. I was just people watching my friends slowly lose their mental faculties and then watching them do really silly things or getting them to do really silly things.
I remember one of the times I went to a party where there were people there drinking. All they were doing was talking about how drunk they were. That was all they were talking about. That was the topic of conversation. And I was sitting there like, is this real? This is what they choose to talk about? This is what they're doing, is talking about how drunk they are? Lame.
No, super cool. Super cool, everybody. Anyway, we've got some other statistics for you. One is a Gallup poll. They've done this for years, since the 30s, and it's been about the same every year. They poll adults if they drink or not. Now, they have maybe a smaller threshold for drinking. Not drinking is between 0 and 1 drink in a week or something like that. But 39% in the Gallup poll, and it was fairly consistent for almost 100 years, say they don't drink.
Wow.
In a more recent poll, this one was from 2014, you can find it on 538.com. They have lots of statistics and analysis that is fantastic and fun to read through. But this one was specific to our content here. It said 14.9% of men and 20.4% of women have never consumed alcohol. They did not sort this out for any sort of religious reason. They didn't ask why you've never consumed alcohol. But to think that there's almost a fifth of the population that has never consumed alcohol in the United States, I don't feel that extreme.
I wonder how many people suffer from alcoholism, because that is another reason not to drink, is because you don't necessarily know who of your friends might be struggling with drinking. And it might be nice for that unknown friend to see someone in the group not drinking.
And having that solidarity, like we're not going to drink together.
Right. If they've gotten to the point where they have become sober, they can always, rely on Steve and me not to be drinking.
That's right. And we're still going to be super fun.
Yeah. But it is kind of strange because we were watching this one video and somebody had written in and said, I feel like I'm not invited to outings because people know that I don't drink. And I guess I don't know if we're not invited to things because we're not invited and I don't know about them happening because I'm clueless. But I do wonder if that goes through people's minds about us. And I never want our friends to feel awkward or to feel bad if they do want to drink because we really don't care. It's a total personal choice. We're listing out some reasons why maybe drink less or not drink. But if you choose to drink and you're our friend, there is seriously, I know I'm a judgy person, but there's really no judgment from me, unless you're maybe getting like plastered, which none of my friends do.
Or if you're struggling with finances and I see you drinking and I'd be like, well, number one solution, stop drinking. I would judge that for sure.
Okay. But yeah, we never want people to feel weird about drinking in front of us or anything because we don't care ultimately. And it is a little weird sometimes when we have gatherings at our house because we don't have alcohol in the house. And I have even asked Steve, I'm like, should I just go buy some stuff for like the people coming over? And of course, Steve is like, absolutely not.
They want to drink, they bring their own alky.
Yeah.
I'll provide them with some other quality beverages like water.
Wow, Steve, you're really going all out.
Sometimes something fancy like flavored soda water. All the good stuff. Anyway, so other than legalism and
your seizures,
finances, there is a value to examples. We hear it all the time. And while I've already mentioned my parents, I never saw them or heard about them drinking alcohol in my life. That is a powerful example. It was never at parties we had. And I do remember one or two times, maybe someone gifted them a bottle of wine, and it sat in the bottom of the cupboard forever collecting dust. I don't think they drank. We didn't have wine glasses in the house. If we did, we probably would have broken them. I don't know. But that example is powerful. And so one of the reasons I don't want to drink is I don't want to make that look like something you do as an adult or to have fun or that is part of life or needs to be part of life for my kids.
I was around a lot of drinking growing up. Not only my dad, but the rest of my California family, they all drank pretty heavily, actually. And so when I would go to holidays, there would always be drinking. There would always be champagne. I was always allowed to take a sip of wine or champagne. So I guess I have drunk even more, Steve.
What?
Oh my gosh. Because it was pretty casual thing in my family. If it was just that, I think I would have had a different relationship with alcohol. But with my dad drinking as a habit, it was every single day starting at around probably 2 in the afternoon. He would start drinking beer. Thank goodness he hardly ever drank hard liquor because when he did, it was bad. But he would just drink beers all the way, and he would often just want to continue drinking when it was dinner time. And so he wouldn't come in and eat with us. So my mom and I would eat by ourselves. And that really stuck with me as a child too. I didn't like that. I thought it was really disrespectful to my mom who made the dinner and to me, just as far as eating together as a family. So I saw it all the time. But I will say this, I saw another side of drinking that was really, really fun too. Like my dad would have his friends over. They would stay for a really long time. They'd all be drinking and they would have their kids. Their kids would be over too. And I was friends with their kids and we would be playing and for hours. And it was basically like a party at my house. And I loved that. That was fun. It was great. And it was drinking in that sense probably brought those people together. I don't know if drinking wasn't part of the equation, if they would have gotten together or if they would have hung out as long as they did. So I have mixed feelings about it. I've personally chosen that I don't need it in my life. I don't care that much about it. I don't feel like I'm missing out, but I can appreciate that, people get together and they have fun and drinking enhances the fun and, whatever, you're an adult, you make that decision. I certainly enjoy being around people who are having a fun time.
Okay, but as far as examples go, can you regale me of the story when you saw your mom drinking alcohol at one of the family get-togethers?
My mom was always pressured to drink alcohol, especially by one of my uncles, because he was kind of like the mixologist, if you will. And so he would always want her to drink. And that's something that people who drink oftentimes want everybody around them to be drinking, because it is like this communal thing where, it's like when you eat a meal together and someone's not eating. It's like, hello, eat the food with us. We're eating together. It's probably similar to that. Anyway, every now and then she would concede and like hold a drink in her hands and maybe take like a sip of it just to, get people off her back. But I saw her take one sip one time and I lost my ever-loving mind because I just had, this mom who doesn't drink alcohol. And then I saw her take a sip and I lost it. I started crying, like I ran out of the room. I was young, okay? I wasn't like a teenager, but it was...
So 12.
No, I don't know. I really don't remember, but I was young. And I just knew my mom as the one person in my life who didn't drink. And so when I saw her drink, it was like that was shattered for me. So that was hard, yeah.
And that's why examples matter.
And my mom had no idea that I had this vision of her as being this dry, sober human. Like the one person in my life like that. She didn't even know that. And my mom was great. And she felt horrible because she didn't even like care or want to take that sip. So had she to do it over again, she wouldn't have taken the sip. Had she known it would have affected me that way.
Basically, we want you to understand, first of all, it's not that uncommon for people to be teetotalers for whatever reason, whether it's religious, former addictions, or just choice. But it doesn't mean you can't question why someone doesn't drink. But I hope you take a moment or two and question why you drink.
We are Red Weather Christians.
I'm Steve.
I'm Jen.
We hope you'll feel empowered to question the rules you follow,
fear mediocrity,
and keep the conversation going. Oh, we're doing something right now?
We're testing, yeah. It's just
Testes.
Testes, 1, 2.
I wish I could get that on video because you think it's funny every time. Like you're laughing, you say it 1, 2 as if that's the funny part.
Oh my gosh. It's very funny.